The Joe Milton experience was going down on Saturday night. We have the full recap with Star Up, Star Down. If you are new to the show and the station, this is basically your Cowboys report card. And every single Monday or post-game day, we will have our list of positives and negatives. That's Star Up, Star Down on the Franklin Injury Attorney text line, 877-881-1053. As the Cowboys fall to the Rams 31-21, and Joe Milton goes 17 of 29 for 143, a touchdown as he started to finally get going later on in the game. Also had that interception in 9 drives. He ran 22 yards on 5 carries. The Joe Milton experience.
That was the full Joe Milton experience. You got everything.
On the pick?
The pick itself. That interception itself was Joe Milton's entire football career summed up in one play. He missed the first read, and then instead of going to the second read, he flees the pocket, runs away from his body, right, away from his throwing arm, then throws a laser 60 yards down the field that only maybe 2 other guys in the NFL can make, kind of slightly off target, gets intercepted. That is... No touch on the ball, by the way. That one play is the entire Joe Milton experience. It's like the missing of the read, or not even missing the read, just being impatient with the read. And then wanting to leave the pocket as fast as possible, and then uncorking just a mammoth throw, and then it gets intercepted.
Yeah, I charted him. Like, this is not just throwing together a bunch of throws. This is like throw by throw. A terrible overthrow to Schoonmaker on his first attempt. The next 2 throws with good protection were awful. Awful. Deuce was covered on one of them, and he decided to try to force that in. I think it was Jalen Tolbert on the third down that had to turn into a cornerback to make sure the ball was not intercepted. He had a pick 6 dropped by them before the half. That interception heave was in double coverage, and Schottenheimer is sitting there talking about the check down, which RJ already referenced. He missed a wide open Flournoy.
Yeah, the R is basically silent.
Missed a wide open Flournoy, and he didn't reach on the 4th and 3 run that you were tweeting about.
Yeah, I mean, like, just extend the ball, man.
Extend the ball.
Leave no room for doubt.
Yes.
That's the, if you were surprised by this, it's like, I didn't see him in college. Like, that's it. I didn't see him.
This is what I was asking Nick about last week, that he was like, well, no, I would think if you just need one game, you would throw Milton out there, and if you need a whole season, you would throw Greer out there. No, if you got to get by with a game, like when Cooper Rush had to start that 1 year against Minnesota for just a week, it's got to be Greer, or they got to go get somebody else. Because right now, if you're in the thick of a playoff race and you need one start, Milton's he's not somebody who's far enough along in terms of the game IQ stuff that you can feel comfortable with him out there starting. And it was all on display. That stuff, those first 3 plays that you just referenced, that was more than enough time on all 3 of them to stand in there and make your throw, if you know what you're doing. And the thing is just he doesn't know what he's doing right now, which is fine. That's why he went where he did. He's a young player. He's going to learn. The traits are all there. It's just, you see right there, that's why it's really difficult to expect him to play consistently right now.
And for a guy who spent 6 years in college, he barely played. He barely played. He has 20-something starts. Bo Nix is, Shador has 60.
I wonder if New England is sitting there. Obviously, they had the Drake May factor, but New England is sitting there watching him in practice like we did in Oxnard. By the way, be careful of your aggregators out there. Pay attention to all the websites last week who we called out for the headlines that Joe Milton was dominating. That is a good value of going every year as the home of the Cowboys to tell you, no, he might make the throw, but it's coming 8 seconds into the play. He might show off the legs, but it's because he's not hitting the second read that he should have in the route concepts. Just pay attention to all those websites and make a mental note of who told you that Joe Milton was on fire, because what you saw is what we saw in Oxnard, and Joe was asked to grade himself after.
If I was grading myself, definitely a D, probably a D minus if I'm being hard on myself. I feel like I said before, the guys around me did a great job, especially from the O-line standpoint. They was blocking their butt off. And then the receivers and tight ends, they was doing their assignments at a high level. I just got to settle down early and just make all those throws.
I don't know what Michigan's scheme was like. I didn't pay attention.
It was good enough for Trey Lance.
It was recorded
last night.
What?
It was recorded.
It was recording, right. When Joe's at Tennessee, the Tennessee scheme is pretty simple. It's like there's one read. It's a lot of art browse. There's one read to it. If that read isn't there, you basically run.
Yeah, I mean, that's
basically what it is.
Schottenheimer said right after they traded for him, when they were talking about Joe Milton and where he's at, we played the audio. He said that, look, he comes from a scheme where he's going to be behind. Because Tennessee is it's not a pro-ready, get you to the NFL scheme. It is built to win at the college level. They're not there to necessarily get you to the NFL. That's not what it does.
And you just reminded me, I didn't complete my thought. Maybe New England is watching Joe in these practices, and they're like, it's going to take way too long for him to process it and get the offense and know where to go. And we don't have time for all that with Drake.
Yeah, and Vrabel I think he wanted one of his guys. He wanted, because he got Dobbs. Dobbs was the guy who was a backup at Tennessee with him.
Yeah, look, I mean, if you look at, to me, it's very clear his physical attributes. Like whenever you heard the buzz about, man, what an athlete Trey Lance is, then we got out there and we're like, that's it? He's fine, but gosh, this is not the dude that everybody had hyped him up to be. The arm isn't what it. Milton is everything athletically that you're told he is. He's big, he's fast, he can sling the ball. That's all there. He's probably behind Trey Lance as a processor, where Trey Lance was last year. Lance made some awful decisions, different things like that, but Milton is everything that you thought Lance was going to be as a physical player. It's just behind that, it's the processing. And it's clearly just something where he's got to have more time on task, and that's why I think Schottenheimer and the Cowboys are just basically he's basically going to play every snap of the preseason for us because he needs that time.
And Schottenheimer said this is why he needs to play. I do think he settled down, found his rhythm late, started using his legs a little better. Every rep he gets is going to help him become a great pro. We need to throw more completions. He knows that. He had his fastball out, and there's times where you kind of need to throw a little bit of a changeup.
So I remember the first year of Josh Allen in the NFL, there was these jokes of it was just a still shot of Josh getting ready to heave this 80-yard bomb. And the meme joke was Josh Allen throwing a screen pass. And he's corked back and everything, ready to throw. And that's Joe. That's Joe right now. He corks back and he's ready to throw a heave for a 6-yard screen pass. The fade route into the end zone, on the broadcast, you're yeah, you got to put some air into that, man.
He came out firing, throwing on his first 6 plays, and he said, I think I need to calm down faster so I can start rolling in the first quarter. Very Jack Leiter-ish, if you remember Bassick talking about him. He said, I was very excited. That's what got me off track. I feel like if I was able to go back out there right now, I'd be able to settle down faster and make those throws for sure. As for the elbow injury, he said, I feel good. Just a little treatment in the morning. I will be all right.
What was the exact count in the first quarter on yards? It was something like 140-1. Where Dallas had a yard through 2 drives.
That was generous. I thought he got no gain on that one.
It probably was 0, but they were rounding up. That's fine. But I think when you watch that, you go, okay, yeah, the biggest thing you need to take away from that is just, for Milton, is time on task. That's what he needs, because the more time he gets, the more the game is going to slow down, because right now it happens way too fast for him.
I would love to see him go out there and throw about 1,100 footballs in the morning of a game and tire his arm out like a sinker ball pitcher. Get out there. If your normal warm-up routine is 40 pitches, throw 80. Get tired. Get tired out there, and that way that fastball isn't as fast.
Let's get to the rest of Star Up, Star Down. Bobby, who jumped out to you for either side?
I mean, the biggest one that stood out is just this guy looked really good the entire time that I was watching was Maris Leofau.
Yeah.
Maris Leofau, he comes right out, right off of the kickoff, makes the tackle there, is all amped up. He's this ball of energy. And then he was out there and immediately was making a ton of plays on defense. And
it had the 3rd and 1 stop. And I'm trying to come up with a better comparison, but it's really tough with the hair and the way he is a Tasmanian devil of not looking like Palomalu playing linebacker.
The hair just it does that alone. And then, you watch him flying around there. So after last year's draft, leading into day 3, we'll always get a chance to talk to the coaches and the scouts on the draft show with DallasCowboys.com. And their national scout, Ross Winchy, told us that we were like, hey, what's your favorite trait you've studied in the entire draft this year? It doesn't even have to be somebody you picked. And he said it was Maris Leofau's play style. That the way he plays, like the intensity he plays with, the hair on fire stuff, the tone that he sets, that was his favorite thing he saw from any player in that entire draft class. And you see it in that game where he's tough, he's physical, he's running around, he sees the game quickly. He was asked to do so many different things at Notre Dame where he's asked to play safety. There were times he'd step in the nickel and cover somebody because they needed him to. He would rush. He was asked to do so many different things there that he became a really high IQ processor and somebody who understands everything that the offense is trying to do. And I think that you're seeing it starting to come together a little bit. It reminded me of when everybody started buzzing about Overshown in 23 as a rookie, where he had those first 2 games in the preseason. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, this guy might be special, before he ended up tearing that ACL.
Star down to the run defense. Had a lot of tellos saying nothing has been fixed from over the past few years. We'll get to that, whether it's legit criticism, coming up later in the show. But they were getting torched trying to defend that run, just like the scrimmage in Oxnard.
Yeah, right?
They couldn't run it, and they could not stop the run.
And that's why a big star down in this game is Jay Toia, the defensive tackle that they picked. That's the only guy who is nose guard size for you on the entire defensive line, really. And so he's got to be better. He can't be getting moved out of the his gap by a guard who just, all right, let me just wash you straight down the line, no issues at all. There was a lot of things that Jay Toia is going to need to look at in that film and go, all right, there's stuff I got to work on here, because that's just going to make them leak consistently if he's out there.
People were also just throwing in the final Mozzie towel, saying you can't let him take up a roster spot. Just end it. Just end it and replace him.
What, 3 years for a first?
I mean, it's the same.
Tom Landry told me, or Barry Switzer once told me. Someone told me.
Yeah, year three, right?
Year three.
I mean, let's be honest. Who does Mozzie Smith most frequently remind Cowboys fans of as a draft pick?
Taco
Charlton. Taco Charlton was here for 2 years, had an underwhelming preseason. They traded him at the end. So that's, Mozzie Smith has been here as long as Taco Charlton was. And so it's getting to the point where he may be near the end.
What you got, Choppy?
There's an easy star up. I think, and it's kind of cheating to say, because the quarterback can do the most and make the most. Will Grier is an easy star up. He comes out there one time and it just reminds everybody, like,
2 of 3.
Yeah, but
2 of 3, 14 yards.
He let a scoring drive
and the scamper. He had the touchdown run.
Yeah, it's just easy. It's like everything looked, even though he didn't have to do much and only 3. Everything looked like it was just like, okay, calm down a little bit, and he stabilized.
Who's your 2 to start the year?
I think you have to keep 3. I think it's Will to start the year right now, the way it is right.
Your backup.
If Dak goes down for the season, let's say, Dak pulls a Romo 2016 and goes down for the whole year, I'm starting Joe Milton for the year. If it's the 1 game, 2 games, then you got to start Will Grier.
Yeah, it's just like last year, where Lance should have been the guy as soon as the season was done, and they didn't. They wanted to hold on as long as they did. But if you just got to get by, you would put Cooper Rush out there.
My other star ups, Peyton Turner with a nice play on that Stetson Bennett keeper. Man, Bennett is so small. It's amazing how I just view the size of some of these guys differently in the pros versus college. Star up to McQuamu with a very nice and fun interception. And what do we make of Phil Mafah in the backfield? Is he this year's preseason deuce?
Look, Mafah is a guy who I was on the John Machota's podcast yesterday. Look, I'm very in demand. You guys know this. But I'd been on there. John made a good point that Mafah did not show up at all during the summer. He did not show up the first week of training camp. Then as soon as the pads come out, it's like, okay, this is his thing. He is a more physical runner. He's not going to be this speed burner. This is how he makes his living.
He only
as
had
a running back.
10 for 36, which surprises me looking at the stat line. 3.6 a carry, and they were led by Malik Davis,
baby.
who
Where's he?
pick up off the scrap heap. 7 for 63, 9 a carry.
Yeah, how long's Malik Davis been in the NFL now? Like 6 years or whatever it was that he got here. Yeah.
2022?
No, it couldn't have been that early. Either way, he's been around Dallas so many times now. That's a veteran player who, I would hope that like Malik Davis, who's stuck around on practice squads and stuff in year 5 or whatever he is should be better than
His
that.
his stats on ESPN say 2022 and 2023.
Well, he was practice squad the whole year in 21.
Okay, so I didn't show that, but yeah. So his experience is second season.
Guys, this was a football happened this weekend.
Sure did.
And for some moments in sports, it was exciting. For the Cowboys fan, the most exciting thing that happened was CeeDee Lamb getting run over.
Boy, sure was.
That was probably, other than that, that was the most exciting thing. And for anybody that didn't see it, this was a moment where Jonathan Mingo was wide open downfield. Joe Milton, the only quarterback that can throw it to him because he has the cannon to throw 900 yards. And CeeDee Lamb saw it, and I'm watching it right now. CeeDee Lamb saw it, turned around, and was like, I know exactly what the play call is. I'm walking down the sideline because I know, and the referee just blindsided him from the back.
They did.
Destroyed him. What's even funnier, though, is as he's going down, you can see the route from Mingo continuing.
Yeah,
and they're like,
he's still
there
going.
it is. So that was really fun. But that was the most exciting part of the weekend, unless
you're a Malik Davis fan.
Yeah, and there's some out there still. There still are some out there. The Joe Milton experience, he looked better as he calmed down. That was something I noticed about him, was he just was hot. Like the first 3 throws were just chaos.
First two drives
and
were
that
chaos.
Yeah, that experience is probably very beneficial to him to get that out of the way. But other than that, week 1 of the preseason is completely gone now, and we're okay with that, right?
No, we're okay with it. I mean, I don't know if Cowboys Twitter is. I mean, it was you want to talk about polarizing, and like I've told you guys before, now that this being my second year, so now I'm fully engrossed in the Cowboy Twitter experience. And, I mean, we had folks that were, I'm done punting on the season after the first preseason game.
That was a little interesting.
Little intense to me. Not going to lie about that. I will say this. I don't know who Deron Bland's agent is, but, he had the baby, rubbing his hands meme probably the entire time on Saturday, because right now, outside of Izzy McQuamu, I don't know that there's there's barely backup quality people on this football team right now, cornerbacks on this football team right now. Zion Childress flashed, but that was in the third and fourth quarter when you go from backups to third and practice squad guys, so you take that with a grain of salt.
Right.
I heard the morning show guys talking about Donovan Ezaraku. All right, it's amazing how this isn't the ACC, and those are actual real football players out there.
Okay, so in my notes, Fred, cornerback.
You took a few?
Cornerback depth has some work to do.
All the work to do.
Got beat easily a couple times. That was the first drive.
Yes.
Then on the second drive, man, oh man, cornerback is going to be a problem if these are our guys.
Yes.
And then the next note was 41. EZ has a lot of skills, but still a lot to grow from.
He does.
That's a reality. He knows that. He's not the biggest, strongest. He even talked about that with Shan and RJ.
Yeah.
I have to work on different skills.
He's got a lot to work on.
Or was that was I'm sorry, with GBAG. I got different skills.
Yeah.
But he is going to have to become a grown man at some point. And this experience is great for him, and it's great for him to be out there and be part of that. But their pad level, everything was a little lazy. Everything was a little lazy for me, and in my mind, this is a coach's dream for those guys.
Yeah.
For like whenever your backups and your other guys don't play great, you're as a coach, you're like, yes, practice is. I'm gonna tear them up this week in practice. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. And then you're setting the example to the starters that are going, that ain't gonna happen whenever I get out there. And that's the hope. Like that's the hope.
I know from watching the first few series, at least defensively, the only players that you would feel comfortable, at least let's put it this way, that I would feel comfortable with and say, okay, yeah, these guys look like they're capable NFL players, are Maris Leafau looked the part on Saturday. Like he definitely looked like the one guy that had been there before.
Yes.
Okay. Tyrus Wheat probably flashed at times on Saturday, right? I mean, took a couple bad angles, but at the very least continued to get in the backfield, was the only guy that felt like, okay, again, he felt like he'd been there before. But secondary, I mean, Stetson Bennett looked like Matt Stafford out there.
Oh, man, he looked very good.
Okay, I mean, literally, Stetson Bennett did whatever he wanted to do on Saturday. And then, of course, I'm not saying anything that anybody with a working set of eyeballs, whether you've ever watched football before, you said to yourself, who is this 58 guy and why is he on my football screen? Mm-hmm. Okay, and there was one moment where they were showing him on the sideline, and he looked like he wanted to be anywhere but SoFi Stadium. I think you need to go ahead and cut him now. Cut your losses, be done with it. And I don't know that it sends a message necessarily because, I mean, if we see it, the entire team sees it. But if we're going to talk about culture, if we're going to talk about, hey, things are going to be done differently this time around, get rid of Mozzie Smith. Okay? Mozzie Smith, just be done with him, call it a day, and let Toya do his thing. You're gonna need to go out and go get some more defensive tackles anyway. You're gonna go. I mean, I'll tell you what. If I don't know if is Kendall Fuller still one of the guys that's available. I know Asante Samuel Jr. is still out there somewhere. I would bring in cornerback help because I'm telling you right now, God forbid if Deron Bland or Kyer Elam get hurt, this team's giving up 50 a game.
Yeah, Gilmore's the first person I'm calling. Just say, hey, you've been here before. We know what you are. And we'd like to have you around. But yes, I agree with you on the Mozzie front, and not just the player himself not being up to par.
Yeah,
the part of setting the rest of the room in hey, this is how it's going to be.
Yeah,
look, you can't be around here for 3 years and never show us that you're making that progression.
Squat.
No matter who you are. You could be the best, you could be the number one pick or whatever, but there's a standard we have, and if you aren't giving that the entire time over a 3-year span,
right,
then we have to move on from you. And that's, I think the rest of the room alerts to that. The lack of discipline that CeeDee Lamb said this team has had, he said it's never been about talent. You know, this was a couple weeks ago during the brawl. He was like, it's never been about talent. It's always been about discipline with this team. And he's pointing that out right there. And I think if you're looking at discipline, that's one of the key factors is we keep letting this guy have a chance. Why? Because he was a first-round pick, but that we all kind of screwed up on whenever we picked him. So it's early in the preseason. I don't think he's going to make it to the season based on the way that he looks.
And I guess I would push back a little bit on the whole talent thing because I didn't see a lot of it on the field Saturday. All right, and look,
that's because all the talent was in jerseys without pads.
To your point, no, 100%, right? But I'd like to think you got some talent on the. You need to have some talent in your depth.
Yeah.
Okay,
I get it.
I think you're and look, I know we all love Will McClay and he's got plenty of pelts on the wall as far as first team All Pros and what have you. It's criminal what that 2023 draft class looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like that is the class of what now outside of DeMarion Overshone. All right, and you know the unfortunate part about DeMarion is you know he keeps getting hurt. Outside of him, okay, Mozzie's you know his clock's ticking. I mean he should be getting cut any time now. Luke Schoonmaker, we're still TBD on him. All right, I mean he flashed a couple times last year, did nothing on Saturday.
Yeah,
all right, there was nothing about him. Awesome Richards. All right.
Through the two lining up in the backfield consecutively on plays that actually had significant importance to other people on the team. That's what really drives me nuts is a play that Phil Maffa has a really good run on.
Yeah.
Nothing and now you're like, well, Phil Maffa didn't have a good game when you look at the numbers, but then you're like, well, hold on, look at what happened here.
Yeah.
Like that could have been a really good play, but your offensive lineman not good enough to be out there doing his job correctly. And that's a frustrating thing because we saw it happen multiple times last year, not just with him, but with Tyler Guyton, and we don't need to see that happen anymore.
And again, and you've been covering this team a lot longer than I have, and I always go back to what Bill Parcells said that you know if you don't have it figured out by year 3, you're never gonna have it figured out. Well, that's what that 2023 class is, right? This is their year 3.
Yeah.
And right now, with the way this 2023 draft class, because that's a lot of what we should be seeing either as starters, just on your regular group, or as backups, of what we should have seen on Saturday. Again, Awesome Richards, backup at best.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, now you know why Nathan Brown got the start over him. Mm-hmm. All right? I mean, this new regime came in and said, we've seen all we need to see out of you. Mm-hmm. All right? So he's a backup at best. All right? Again, we've already talked about Mozzie. We've already talked about Schoonmaker, again, who... It's weird because we've heard that he's had a great camp. We've heard that he's been phenomenal in camp. Looked anything but that on Saturday. Now, that said, and we can just go into Joe Milton, how much stock can I put in the fact that, okay, you look good in the third and fourth quarter? I mean, I guess the fact that, all right, yes, as the game wore on, but I'm going to go back to what Broadus said in the postgame show. You missed regular throws.
See, this right here.
I mean, you missed throws that an NFL quarterback's supposed to. Forget about whether you're a backup or a starter, man. You missed basic throws.
What you're saying right now is the reason I think Dak should play in at least 2 drives in the next 2 games.
Play a quarter.
At least 2 drives in the next 2 games because you have Philadelphia game 1.
Yeah.
And when it is a completely different thing when you step on the field
100%.
and the lights are on and the adrenaline's pumping and now your throws are sailing. Do you want to say, you know what, we'll just, the first quarter, we're going to have to get our legs under us?
Yeah.
No, you want to hit the ground running because Philadelphia will. They're going to hit the ground running and you're the one that's going to have to deal with it. And I think that's going to be the case. You're going to see Dak looking like Joe Milton, trying to find his bearings. If he doesn't get a couple of these things just to get back out on the field and get into the groove against competition that's not his own teammates. And that's and they can say that, no, that's fine, but that's one of the things that I feel they need to do because this is a big season for Shoddy. And if I was Shoddy, I would be demanding it of him too.
You and I talked about this pre-show. We talked a little bit about it with Bobby as well before the show started, and I know a lot of this was discussed on social media and what have you, again with different folks. I don't understand why this team is not playing its starters game 1. All right, and whether it's, some people are speculating that that's a Jerry decision, it's a front office decision. You don't want to get Dak hurt. If you're that concerned that your $240 million quarterback is going to get hurt in a meaningless preseason game, then what are we really talking about? And I go back to, I watched the Cardinals and the Chiefs game. I watched a little bit of that yesterday. And you had every member of the Kansas City Chiefs suited up. You had Chris Jones playing. You had George Karlaftis playing. You had Bolton playing. I mean, they're starting defense, starting offense. And you would think if you saw the Cowboys on Saturday that they were defending Super Bowl champs or they were defending NFC champs with, all their starters not playing. I don't care if you're playing the second game. I don't care what the reason is. All right. No one's saying you need Dak Prescott to play an entire game. I'm not saying you need to play. I don't even think you need to play a full quarter. Pat Mahomes had one drive that went 11 yards. Yeah. Threw one touchdown, the ball game was over. His day's over. Yeah. But again, I think there's something to be said for when you're trying to, again, and this is what, and I've got 2 things that bother me about Shoddy. And look, I've been a Shoddy guy, but 2 things as far as my doubt meter starting to creep in. One, guys not suiting up, not having your starters there, even if it's just for one series. All right, no one would have had any problem with that. And then 2, my second Shoddy concern, it's 4th and 2 with 12 seconds left to go in the the second quarter. All right, why are you not going for it? I don't need Brandon Aubrey to kick a 30-yard field goal.
Listen.
He can do that with his left foot.
I'm. Okay, if we asked him that specific question, his answer is going to be
in a real game.
Everybody needs their opportunity. Everybody needs preseason reps, except for your starting quarterback. But
thank you.
Like that would be what he's. Hey, we need to get those situations. We need to real life stuff. But I agree with you completely. It's the preseason. Our lives aren't on the line. Let's go for it. Let's have some
give
fun
Joe
with this
Milton
thing.
a shot.
Yeah, man.
Joe Milton needed that rep because God forbid Dak gets hurt.
What's going to happen when that situation's coming down for you?
Okay, so I got a Joe Milton theory for you here. And I'll get to that in just a second. Segment's brought to you by the Frankels. If you've been injured in a car or truck wreck, call the Frankels first, 214 or 817-333-3333. There's never an out-of-pocket cost. They only get paid when you win. Frankel, the go-to car and truck wreck attorneys in Dallas. I think he might be about to have his best practice as a Cowboy, Brian, and I'll tell you why. You ever had that round of golf that was so amazing?
Never.
that game of pool or darts or long snapping?
Long snapping. Yeah.
Where you're like, oh my gosh, I was so on fire today. I think I might be going pro, right?
Sure.
That's what happened to Joe Milton last year, week 18, right? He had his GOAT game, and it's happened to all of us. Like I shot 78 on a golf course once, right? I think I've only shot under 95 times. I shot 78 once.
It was 9 holes, but whatever.
That's not
Chief.
the point. Thank you, Chief. Okay, so what did I do? The next day, I went out there thinking, 90's cake. I shot like 98.
Overconfident.
Yeah.
Darn it.
So last year, week 18, Milton had his God level game. The problem was there were no more practices. There were no more games. So Joe sat there and stewed with the idea that, damn it, I figured it out. Took me a year sitting on the bench there, but ain't no way I'm sitting behind Drake May next year. I see the writing on the wall. You either make this an open competition or trade me. So the Patriots said, well, I guess we're going to have to trade you then, Joe, because you're apparently all world. And then he got to the Cowboys and has continued to do that. And the coaches have been like, Joe, you cannot throw the ball through a barn into traffic, 40 times a game. Please, manage the game, play calmer. And then he went out Saturday night, and now he said he gave himself, a D- after the game? Mm-hmm. He graded himself D-. So that was his sobriety moment. That was his, oh my goodness, that was just an amazing game. That wasn't the new me. I hadn't figured everything out last year in New England. So now he's back to a more humble version. He probably feels like a bit foolish for demanding a trade in New England and believing him so much. But Todd Archer had a quote in his story about Joe Milton, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, that was the game that made me realize I can actually play in this game and do a lot more. Right? So that was his mindset going into Saturday. Now he's like, oh, crap, I got a lot of stuff to work on. Oh, crap, I'm not going to have an NFL career if I don't agree that I should run the ball a lot and check down a lot.
Mm-hmm. And not rip it 100 miles an hour every single time.
Yeah, I might actually have to listen to the coaches when they say, Joe, you got to develop some touch on that pass. You can't rifle. Because I was thinking I was just going to throw between 40 and 70-yard touchdowns every time I drop back. I mean, that's how he practices, right?
It is. I love this.
Unleash the cannon.
This was his back to the lab game that he just experienced.
And it happens to all of us.
Oh, yeah.
I've won like 2 or 3 online poker tournaments in the course of a week. I thought I'm going pro.
Yeah.
I'm moving to Vegas, baby.
And then like a month later, the account is at $0 as I've, just turbo played nonstop tournaments for the last month, thinking this was my big moment and I'd figured the game out. But sometimes the universe just lines up for you and allows you to have an amazing game, and then you're humbled shortly thereafter.
Well, I'm ready for week 2 then. See Joe refine some things.
Yeah, it's a big week 2 because I'll tell you what, if he does not come back in week 2 significantly better, you got to go Will Grier in the dress rehearsal game so you can get him as much experience as possible running this offense. Am I right?
I think that Will Grier is going to play the final game anyway. The question I have for you guys right now is, I paused Breece Hall watching.
Best runner in the game?
No, I was just watching some carries of his just to kind of get an idea what kind of player he was. The question I have for you guys is, you don't know what these wide receivers are yet, do you? Do you have an idea? Do you have an idea who all these Cowboy wide receivers are?
I was able to see good route running and people running open. Unfortunately, I think Flournoy could have had a monster game, and we'd be talking much differently about him.
Do we need to play Will Grier to get an idea of how these receivers are going to look?
Yeah,
is it more important to get an idea about Tolbert and Mingo and Flournoy and Holden than it is to see Joe Milton play anymore?
Yeah, that's
if it's an actual
really
competition, then yes. Like if it's true and Shoddy's saying like Holden's going to move up the depth chart,
because you don't know how many of these guys are going to play in the final game. I mean, that game could be.
I can watch the all-22 and see guys getting open. I want to bet on Milton's upside, even if there's only a 1% chance he realizes it.
Well, I'm just saying, though, yeah, these guys are getting open, but do you want to see them like catching the ball and running with the ball and making plays? Like he threw that ball, that interception. He had no business throwing that ball. He just was launching that thing.
You just wanted people to see the rocket.
Well, they ran a route. I mean, it was a really nice job of some guys getting open, but he just launched it, just to see what would happen, and unfortunately got intercepted. But I just wonder, as an evaluator, would you want to see these receivers have a chance to catch the ball?
Yeah, I mean, you would like to see that. That's what makes this a little bit more of a challenging question. It's a great question because you want to develop Milton. We keep talking about how Milton needs the reps, but for this team right now of guys that you actually feel like you're going to have to lean on to some extent, you want to see those guys get better opportunities, and Will Grier probably does provide some of that. So I don't know what the right answer is, dude. It's a great question.
See, I think that Bobby, excuse me, Dawson, I think Bobby said something to me the other day that was I'm like, wow, that's an interesting way to put it. Bobby said if they had to go win one game, that you might play Will Grier.
Yeah,
I
that makes
agree.
so much sense.
No
to
doubt
me.
to me.
But if you had to find a way just to go and play out the season, that you play Joe Milton.
Yeah, if you had a season-ending injury,
Give him a
then it's
chance.
Milton. But I think if it's 2 to 4 weeks, I think it's Will Greer.
I mean, isn't it similar to Cooper Rush, Trey Lance?
And they went with Rush, yeah. So I think Will Greer would be the Rush in
Has
this
Trey Lance?
situation.
Has anybody watched the Chargers? Has Trey Lance been?
He looked good in both games.
He's been good. Okay.
Look at that. Okay, 214 Churd here. Did he change his phone? I think he did. He used to be a SoCal guy, right? Doesn't matter how humble he is. Dak's the most humble person on the planet, but he still can't throw the ball with anticipation. Yes, but I tell you what, the self-awareness, I'll do whatever it takes to win and do the job right, that's part of what made Dak so viable early in his career. Yes, I will run it. I will avoid the interception at all costs. I don't want to have to be a hero. Now, he believes in himself. He's going to take risks and, try to make big plays, and maybe that's increased as his career has gone on, and that's why the interceptions have increased. But I remember Jason Garrett saying one of my favorite things about you is you don't mind throwing the ball away, dirting the ball, throwing it out of bounds because you know you can come back and live another day, and keep playing, and you're not, trying to force something and putting the team in jeopardy. We have Shoddy at the podium earlier said, is Joe Milton the backup? And he said, well, we don't have to decide that today. I need to get to learn him as the play caller. I'm not going to say who the backup running back is right now, who the backup QB is, because I don't have to make those decisions yet. So maybe owning it a little bit, like he's got to figure out the right plays to give Joe Milton. Is that what he's saying? Maybe there a little bit. He says,
I think to me, when I watched that the All 22, I think some of this now the early play call in the first 6, I kind of felt like that. Okay, that's on Shoddy. That's not knowing the condition of your defense right there. His defense needed a break, and to go 3 and out twice, that's not very good game management right there. He didn't help, but luckily they kind of got things together. I think he was struggling to find plays for Joe that would work. I think he had that play sheet. It looked like the Cheesecake Factory menu. We always talk about that they were kind of like we're going to be vanilla. That thing looked like it had hooks and rings and all kinds of
pages. Was it like a binder?
Page. It was like it was just a flip sheet of stuff that he could get to. But I think early in that game he struggled to find plays that Milton could execute.
It was weird to see them. I mean, I guess post game he acknowledged I wanted to throw the ball around with Milton. So I mean, he told us what his thinking was. But I was like, geez, they come out and they throw the ball 6 times.
Not when your defense was as in bad a shape as that one.
Well, and
I thought the Rams were going to score every series.
Physical.
I honestly did.
Physical. Run the ball. That's all we've heard. Yeah. And then he came out and threw the ball 6 times for 1 yard of offense. It was kind of like, whoa, what's going on here?
I mean, I do kind of like the idea that maybe Milton was just too fired up. Like Bassick will talk about a pitcher in a new situation, especially in his debut, just throwing it way too hard. And, you just can't get your body dialed down enough to relax and play quarterback or pitch. I could definitely see that, and that's why I think game 2 for him is so big, because I don't think if he plays well in game 2 of the preseason, we should see him ever again in a Cowboys uniform. No deal in sight for Micah Parsons. That's the insider update coming. I just sense that this is adversarial enough, and this has gone on long enough now. There won't be a deal before week 1, will there, guys?
Steven seemed very open to the tag when we talked with him. I don't think that they're against that. Like it's either Micah's side budges first, and he decides I want to get the deal done, and I think they're feeling like you guys are the ones that need a budge here, and I don't think the Cowboys are going to do that. So if it's going to get done, I think it's Micah probably talking to David Mulugeta like, man, I want my long-term security here.
Yeah, I think that to me, I think Mulugeta is asking for the Cowboys to budge first because his player was probably wrong in how he handled the negotiations initially. And so he's trying to save Micah's face, I think.
Got an old-fashioned standoff happening here with the Cowboys and Micah, and we'll be all over it if the news breaks, but I've just kind of put it on the back burner now, and maybe we'll get back to it in March or something like that, at least from my perspective. I'll be surprised if something gets done.